Welcome to AI Dispatch, your channel for the latest AI videos on YouTube. If you don't want to miss these updates, please like, subscribe, and share. Today's video comes from Sequoia Capital, featuring Will Brown and Johannes Hagemann of Prime Intellect. Their research challenges the assumption that AI advancement belongs exclusively to well-funded tech giants. The core argument: any organization can construct proprietary AI systems by embedding institutional knowledge directly into model weights, and simple interactive tests can serve as powerful training environments. Their technical positions deserve close examination. Will Brown and Johannes Hagemann of Prime Intellect present technical arguments that contradict widely held beliefs about AI development, accessibility, and training methodologies. Their positions challenge both the economic moat of large AI labs and the assumed complexity required for effective model training. We begin with their foundational challenge to corporate AI strategy, specifically the assumption that intelligence equals capability. Most organizations operate under the premise that optimal AI deployment requires accessing the highest performing model available, the system with superior reasoning scores and benchmark performance. Brown dismantles this logic by distinguishing between raw intelligence and institutional expertise. His central observation: business value derives not from hiring the smartest consultant, but from retaining the employee with 3 decades of company-specific experience. He grounds this distinction in the operational difference between prompting and training. Deploying a frontier large language model through API calls resembles hiring a brilliant external advisor who loses all context between sessions. The model possesses no accumulated understanding of your specific processes, edge cases, or organizational history. Genuine operational value compounds through persistent exposure to domain-specific problems and solutions embedded directly into the model's parameters. Prime Intellect concludes that competitive advantage requires organizations to operate their own post-training pipelines, transforming each company into what they term a neo-lab. AI transitions from purchased utility to cultivated asset, requiring continuous internal development. This operational philosophy connects directly to their engineering position on overcoming data scarcity through computational expenditure. Industry orthodoxy maintains that model improvement requires acquiring additional high-quality training data. When human-generated examples are exhausted, progress stalls. Prime Intellect counters that compute resources can substitute for data availability. Hagemann explains that reinforcement learning, while computationally expensive relative to information yield, provides the only viable path past the data bottleneck. The counterintuitive mechanism: when curated human examples become unavailable, you do not halt development. Instead, you allocate GPU cycles to force the model into exploratory problem solving. They position compute as a direct replacement for scarce human expertise. This creates an economic paradox where the solution to information scarcity is not additional reading material, but increased computational expenditure on autonomous exploration despite significant energy costs. Their technical framework extends to a structural redefinition of evaluation infrastructure. Conventional machine learning practice enforces strict separation between training datasets and evaluation benchmarks. Allowing overlap between these categories constitutes data leakage, a fundamental methodological error. Brown and Hagemann invert this principle by asserting that environments are just evals. Their reasoning: the infrastructure used to measure model performance, the test cases, execution environments, and success metrics should function as the training environment itself. Converting static benchmarks into interactive training grounds transforms the final exam into the classroom. This architectural choice collapses the boundary between product validation and product development, suggesting that rigorous evaluation frameworks represent underutilized training infrastructure. Perhaps their most empirically surprising claim addresses the environmental complexity required for teaching advanced capabilities. Conventional reasoning suggests that training AI to solve complex software engineering tasks requires simulating complex corporate infrastructure. Prime Intellect demonstrates that minimal, simplified environments such as a basic Wordle game can teach models measurable, transferable reasoning skills within hours using modest GPU allocation. The underlying mechanism: the model learns not the game itself, but the abstract process of self-correction and strategic look ahead. Reward signals for correct guesses teach the concept of strategy without requiring expensive, high-fidelity simulation. This violates the intuition that sophisticated intelligence demands sophisticated training environments. It indicates that advanced reasoning capabilities can emerge from deliberately simple, low-fidelity sandboxes, provided feedback mechanisms are properly structured. Finally, their work challenges the current trajectory of context window expansion The prevailing Silicon Valley development focus targets expanding context windows to allow models to process millions of tokens simultaneously. The assumption, larger windows produce more capable models. Prime Intellect presents an alternative architecture through recursive language models. Rather than passively consuming massive text volumes, they propose systems where models actively curate their own memory. The model receives persistent storage, a digital scratchpad, and must autonomously decide which information to retain, discard, or compress from its experiences. This shifts the paradigm from passive context consumption to active information management. The implication: future capability derives not from models that remember everything, but from models that execute selective, forgetting, and deliberate curation, mirroring human cognitive processes. Prime Intellect's technical positions share a unifying principle. They reject intelligence as a static commodity delivered by centralized providers. Instead, they frame intelligence as a dynamic process forged through environmental interaction, iterative struggle, and domain-specific feedback loops. They assert that the infrastructure previously exclusive to Google and OpenAI, what they term God-tier development tools, has become accessible to any organization with sufficient engineering discipline. The operational question: if every company can become an AI lab, which organizations will invest in training that 30-year veteran and which will remain dependent on generic API calls? If you're interested in the video featured in this episode, click the link below to watch the original.